Pages with Sidra here, I bring you the novels behind your favorite manga, Manhwa, and Manhua, whether by translating or simply reading them for you. Let's dive into the stories that inspire the comics we all love. I got a cheat ability in a different world and become extraordinary even in the real world. Volume 10 Chapter 3, New Trouble. A few days after the athletic festival, Almasen seemed bored, but as for me, the peaceful days I had been waiting for continued. Then, on the weekend, a certain person visited my house. Kagurazaka-san. Long time no see. Surprisingly, Kagurazaka-san came to visit me at my house. Since it was not a good idea to keep her at the door, I invited her in, and she continued. Well, things have calmed down a bit at my place, so I came to ask if you could take me back to the other world. Apparently, Kagurazaka-san, after carefully considering her promise to Orgai-sama and the meaning of her own summoning, was going to the other world to defeat the evil beasts that were spreading in the other world. Then, Alma-san, who was listening to the conversation, opened his mouth with a sigh. That's good, isn't it? Nothing much happens these days. It would be good to go to the other world after a long time. As Almasen said, I had not been able to visit the other world recently because I had been enjoying the peace and tranquility of this world. Besides, isn't Yuya's body becoming dull too? At this rate, that kicking saint guy will give you another hard time. Ugh. It's true that I haven't been training lately, but I don't really want to fight, so I don't have to train, but I still need a level of strength to stay safe in the other world. I have realized this more and more in my battles with Avis and other evil. Moreover, in the battle against the invaders from space, Seal was almost taken away from me and I had to fight a difficult battle. I understand. Let's go to the other world to train there after a long time. So the decision was made to head to the other world, and in addition to Knight and the others, Yudi said she would be coming along this time. This is because training. I haven't been moving my body as much as I wanted lately. This seems to be the case. I thought she did a lot of physical activity at the athletic festival, but from her point of view, I guess it didn't count as physical activity. So, I got ready and headed to the other world with Kagurazaka-san, when Alma-san opened his mouth again. Yuya, are you going to send this little girl to the regal kingdom with the teleportation magic? Eh? Why yes. That was the plan, but it's been a while since we have been in this world. But, just in case, you should go through the forest to get used to your body. Eh? Gee, going through the forest. Isn't this place super dangerous? Kagurazaka-san was surprised to hear Alma-san's words, but yeah, that's right. Well, since we're here, let's walk to the Great Devil's Nest entrance. Are you insane? Well, to a stranger, it would be insane to dare to go through a dangerous forest. However, I am familiar with the path to the entrance, and it is far safer than dealing with the monsters that inhabit the depths of this Great Devil's Nest. In a sense, this was just right for me to regain my sense of combat. Kagurazaka-san was eventually persuaded by Ama-san and reluctantly agreed. Huh. Yeah. As we proceeded to the entrance of the Great Devil's Nest, we appropriately dealt with the monsters that came at us. At first, Kagurazaka-san was not able to fight properly due to the difference in level between her and the monsters, but as I assisted her in the battle, her level quickly increased, and she was now able to deal with the monsters near the entrance of the Great Devil's Nest on her own. I never thought that I, like you, would stop being human. No, I didn't stop being human. That may be an incredible power for people on Earth, but I never intended to stop being human. As I was going along like that, I suddenly felt the presence of a group of people coming toward us, and I stopped in my tracks. What is it? I've never felt anything like it around here, but there's some presence coming this way. Then, Alma-san, who must have noticed the presence before I did, gave me a dubious look. What is that? A faint sign of the sage. Eh? Surprisingly, he said he could feel the presence of Sage-san from the group coming toward us. When surprised by his unexpected words, Knight growled out, "Grrr. Fugo. Hi." Akatsuki and Seal are surprised to hear Knight's growl, but are they enemies? As I readied my weapon, ready to fight at any moment, the group finally revealed itself. Huh. Why you? We found him. They. What appeared was a group of humans dressed in similar black robes. One of them, who was wearing a particularly luxurious robe, pointed at me and shouted, "You are Yuya Tenju, aren't you? How did you know about me?" I was surprised to hear my name mentioned by this group of strangers, and the man in the luxurious robe began chanting some kind of incantation at me. "Danger. Yuya, avoid. Ga." Yudi and Knight immediately reacted to such an opponent and attacked the man who was chanting the spell as it was. But the attack was stopped by a group of people standing behind him, putting their bodies in the line to block it. Woof. Astonished. This development is unexpected. Hey, what's going on? As everyone was puzzled by the incomprehensible situation, a man in a luxurious robe smiled triumphantly. Fukukuhahaha. Too late. Here and now, our long-cherished wish is accomplished. Wah. The next moment, an exceptionally strong light shot out from the man's hand and a magic circle with a somewhat ominous atmosphere appeared around my feet. I can't move. No way. Yuya. I desperately tried to escape from the magic circle, but for some reason my body was completely immobile and I couldn't move. Yuya. Then, as expected, even Alma-san was not expecting this situation. Alma-san, who normally would not lend a hand, unleashed magic to obliterate the magic circle around me. What? Wah. And no way. Surprisingly, not even Alma-san's strike was able to obliterate the magic binding me. It's no use. That magic was invented by that damned sage. Once activated, there is no escaping it. The magic of the sage? Hearing the man's words, I finally understood the reason for Sage-san's presence that Alma-san mentioned before. Hey. Yuya. Woof. Kagurazaka-san and the others frantically reached out their hands, but the magic power radiating from the magic circle repelled even physical interference. Then, with an ecstatic expression on his face, the man shouted to the sky, "Now, it is time for the resurrection of our god. Woof, woof. Buhai, buhai. Pai." As the magic circle glowed in response to the man's words, my vision went dark. Huh. As my darkened vision gradually regains light, I slowly open my eyes and... A slash is coming at me at an unbelievable speed and right in front of my eyes. I roll to avoid the attacks, but for some reason, they just keep on coming. Wait a minute. What was that all about? Exclamation. As I was desperately avoiding the attacks while yelling out, the storm of attacks suddenly stopped. Is it over? I looked around, catching my breath, and saw a figure. He was a young man who looked a little older than me, but I was taken aback the moment I caught a glimpse of him. He had clear white hair and clear blue eyes. The young man radiated an ethereal and divine presence that made me feel as if he were not of this world. As I gazed at him with breathless fascination, the young man showed no sign of agitation at all and said in an unaffected manner, "Who are you?" I am too stunned even to answer the young man's question, which is so complete in every way that even his voice is almost audible. Then, well, never mind. I don't know what you are, but since he's gone and you've appeared, I guess you're just like him. Wait. As if he no longer needed to talk, the young man held up his sword and swung it down carelessly. Exclamation. But the blow was sharper and more precise than any attack I've ever seen. This is no time to admire. I rushed back to my senses and avoided the young man's attack again, but another slash was already flying ahead of it as if he knew in advance that I would move there. No way. Even for the sword Saint Irisan, such a feat would be impossible. Rather, all of the attacks from the young man were so overwhelming that Irisan's attacks were overshadowed, and all of the slashes from his random swings were already far beyond the skills of a sword saint. I would have liked to contemplate this more carefully, but the current situation would not allow me to do so. Thrown into the air, I decided that it was impossible to avoid no matter how I tried, and although unwilling to fight, I took out my Amma sword and tried to block the young man's slash. Hug! Exclamation. Somehow, before I could prevent it with Amma sword, I was repelled by the young man's slash as if magnets repelled each other. I was surprised to be repelled by the mysterious force, but the force was stronger than I had ever felt before, and because I was in the air, I was blown away before I had time to stand my ground. In a situation for which I had no idea why, I managed to adjust my stance, landed well, and immediately prepared for a follow-up attack from the young man. Huh? He's not here. Why do you have that sword too? Gah! In an instant, the young man grabbed me by the arm and knocked me to the ground. The young man then quietly asked me, holding his sword to my neck. Let me ask you again. Why do you have it? What are you saying? I was about to say that when my eyes widened when I saw the weapon in the young man's hand. Because. That's on the sword. What the young man was holding was none other than the sword that I am holding in my hand right now, the Amma sword. But it is impossible for two Amma sword to exist at the same time. The one I inherited from Sage Sen should be the real one. The reason why the young man's attack was blocked by something invisible earlier is because of the collision between the Amma swords that can cut anything. If one side loses, that will create a contradiction. So in this world, when a situation is about to create that contradiction, there are forces at work to stop it. When I was unable to answer the young man's question because my mind could not keep up with the inexplicable situation, he stared at me, thought about something, and quietly removed his hand from mine. I understood, although I couldn't confirm it. It seems you are not my enemy. What does that mean? I don't know for what reason, but for the moment, I'm relieved that he has determined that I am not his enemy. And no, more importantly, who exactly is this young man? I thought my vision was darkened by the magic of those men, and then suddenly I was attacked by the young man in front of me, rather than that. Where am I? I looked around again, but it was a different place from the great devil's nest I had just been in. Whereas the great devil's nest was surrounded by magnificent nature, the place where I am now is the exact opposite of that, just a desolate expanse of land with no sign of life at all. Then, perhaps seeing me like that, the young man quietly tells me, "This is the world's disposal ground. This is the place where all the negative emotions of the world gather." And negative emotions? That means. Yeah, that's where I'm from. Hero. While I had not had much opportunity to talk to Kuro recently, it had been a long time since I had heard his voice. But now, before I could be happy about that, I was more concerned about what Kuro had said. Wait. If you mean your homeland, then this is the home base of the evil. Well, that's what it means. Anyway, you don't ever mess with that guy, okay? Kuro's words, which seemed to be more serious than ever, were tinged with fear, and I was puzzled. Even with Avis, Kuro had never looked this frightened, but he was extremely frightened with the young man in front of me. Don't be so scared. I have no intention to do anything to you. I'm glad that's the case, eh? Wait, can you hear Kuro? Yes. I was simply stunned by the casual way he said it. Who in the world is this guy? My name is Xenovis. The young man in front of me told me so as if he had heard my inner thoughts. Thank you for watching Pages with Sidra. I hope you enjoyed this chapter of I got a cheat ability in a different world, and became extraordinary even in the real world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more volumes and novels. Let's keep exploring these amazing stories together. See you in the next one.